Yeah, yeah, that's right. So maybe it will be helpful if we tell you first what this book is going to be about. Um, Basically, what we are writing right now is like a go-to manual for anybody that would like to build or understand better GPT-3 as a technology. And we don't want this book to be like a typical kind of technical manual. So there is definitely a section where we are discussing how to code with different languages, with using Open AI API. And also we are looking at different already existing applications of GPT-3, existing products, or existing experiments with it. But we also what we really want is to give like a more holistic overview of the GPT-3 ecosystem and different stakeholders in it. So there will be discussions with founders, with OpenAI, with VCs, with different people that are involved in sort of building products with the help of GPT-3. So yeah, basically, in a nutshell, that's what it's going to be about.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So GB3, you can consider GB3 as a magical black box that is capable of performing a staggering number of tasks. And we as early adopters, so I was in the early adopters when they actually released the API, and I was experimenting with a lot, with a lot of different use cases, actively writing about it. And at that point, I actually felt that like there is some need for a proper guidance or proper resource that can actually streamline my GB3 journey and can actually guide me towards building applications, building products. Because if you see today, like the time to launch a company, even not even building a product, has reduced to days, not even months. So we actually wanted to have something that can actually guide the new users, the incoming API users, and streamline their journey. That's how this idea came to us, and that's how we started writing this book about. And we do believe that this book will be a go-to manual for the new API users or the incoming users, and will actually help them to streamline their journey and will help them to build really cool applications with GPT-3. Yeah, but again, a very interesting question. So, as you know, like GB3 being one of the most innovative technology of all time, so we didn't wanted to write a book that is conventional by any sorts. We want to innovate in the writing process itself. So we thought of this book as something hybrid, which is a combination of text, videos, open source tools. So along with the book, we created interactive video series that people can follow, some open source tools which people can actually leverage and do the hands-on practicals and create applications, so that the readers will actually get a grasp and better understanding of the concepts. So that's the idea behind writing this book, and that's the ideology or the pedagogy that we followed while writing this book.
Yeah, and maybe if I may add something, when it comes to like the process, we are still in the process of writing. We have initial chapters ready, but we are still kind of in the process. So it's really dynamic. We are also in direct conversation with OpenAI to check on their upcoming updates when it comes to the API. And it's like the really cool thing about this book is that it's like you're writing about something that's really dynamic and that keeps changing. So we basically need to be, you know, ready for all these changes and up to date with everything all the time, which is awesome. Well, we are definitely experimenting with different prompts. Like book will be filled with different examples. Like we are basically writing a guide for somebody that wants to start working with this technology from scratch. So we spend a lot of time in the playground discussing how it works, giving different types of examples on the prompts, how you can structure them, what are the optimal like practices to arrive at the outputs that you want, etc., etc. So we are like very closely working with GPT-3 itself to make it like more practical, basically for and usable for others.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Got it.
So that's a really nice concept again. So we were thinking of a lot of different things that we can actually generate with GPT-3, because it totally makes sense when you're actually writing a book. Why not do it practically then and there itself? So you will actually get to see a lot of different quotes that will be generated by GPT-3, and the different materials at times in the book that will be actually generated by GPT-3 itself. So we do have some kind of snippets. So actually, it is not completely possible to write the entire book or long content with the model itself, but you will actually get to see the snippets of the GPT-3 generated material. It can be in the form of quotes, it can be in the form of some applications or something like that, but you will actually get to see that. Yeah. So along with the book, as we told, right, to keep the model very hybrid and to keep everything open source, we are also maintaining a GitHub repository where we will be putting all the code examples, all the coding that we'll do. So we'll also be talking about how you can actually use GPT-3 with different programming languages. It's not just limited to Python. If somebody wants to use it with Go, they can totally go ahead and use it. We will be having all those boilerplate codes where they can actually use the API with the language they are comfortable with. And also, as a part of this book, we have already released a GPT-3 sandbox, which actually allows you to create an end-to-end Python, end-to-end GPT-3 based application with minimal coding. Yep. maybe I can go first. Okay, yeah, Sandra, please.
All right. So I think great question, by the way. Also, by the way, somebody on Twitch says that you're muted there, so you might want to check it out. But coming back, I think that the trend of these large language models that we see, so GPT-3, BERT, Roberta in the past, will continue, and the leading AI R&D departments of the leading companies and research labs will be funding, like pouring more and more funds into creating bigger and more powerful models. So I definitely expect models to grow. I definitely expect hitting trillion parameters mark soon, and going further. So that's one thing. I think they will become bigger, and we will continue to come up with different types of ways we can utilize them. And another thing that will most likely to happen is that, and we can already see it with OpenAI GPT-3, that you have something like model as a service, which is a new thing, which basically lets you use this amazing technology created within the walls of the most sophisticated labs yourself and access it and pay for it. And I think this is also most likely to continue with other models, and other companies, and OpenAI will likely to follow. I'm also really looking forward to see how GitHub Copilot, for example, is evolving, and all the other tools that Microsoft will most likely use together with GPT-3 to create help for people developing things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My belief is a bit that we are going into, I quite often say that we are entering like industrialization of computing, because until today we basically have not been able to communicate with a computer in an efficient way, and basically a big part of our industry is dedicated towards trying to transform something like somebody's vision or input from one end, so it will work, say, in a medium on the other end. Just an example, if we do a website, we do an application and so on, and we need a whole array of developers to struggle through this nesting of language as we stacked upon each other to actually make the computer understand. I have a firm belief that we are heading in very fast now to a type of industrialization of computing, where many of these things are going away, because basically, why should people sit and push all these buttons at these machines if we just basically can express what we want and make it to happen? What do you guys believe about this? If we start with you, Sandra.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see with Codex, for example, right, which is the descendant of GPT-3, that already there are use cases where people use Codex basically to interact with it with voice commands, where you just strip away those layers of hardware, and you want to directly interact with the computer. I think we are definitely going to see much nicer UX when it comes to interactions with humans and computers. So that's one thing, and I'm really looking forward to it, because like I always thought that cables, like stuff like that, cables, like the keyboard and all stuff like that is a go, I think.
And what is your view on this, Shubham?
Yeah, so I believe going forward, the friction between having an idea and the time it takes to execute will lower down to a greater extent. So let's say now you have an idea and you are dependent on lot of coding stuff and lot of hard coding to get your idea into execution. I believe like going forward with the technologies like Codex, GPT-3, where they allow us to actually convert the natural language into code or use natural language to create different applications. So that will like reduce the friction between ideas and execution to a greater extent. And in our book itself, we will be covering a lot of different use cases where we will be talking about how to go really fast, but at the same time, we will also be covering case studies from different Fortune 500 organizations whose focus is more towards creating a production grade product, a stable product, rather than creating it really fast. So we are actually trying to give readers different perspectives on how they can actually use GPT-3, whether they want to create something production grade or whether they want to create something that can be built really fast. So that's what I believe. Like this will actually reduce the friction to a greater bit and will actually allow more and more people to come into this ecosystem and create some really cool applications. We can actually see like in the next 2 to 3 years, people from different backgrounds coming in and getting involved into the ecosystem and creating some amazing products and even amazing companies.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. It really feels like this is the frontier of a really big shift in computing, and it's very, I believe very few really see this happening, and it's very hard. It's hard. It's hard even to explain to someone. But then if you manage to show the right examples for the right person, then it's like mind blowing. But yeah, I believe it will move really fast, and we can see just how surprised OpenAI was themselves over the capability of Codex, and yeah, it's exciting to see what comes next. And now, especially also when there is a lot of competition starting to brew on the market with things like AI 21, for example. Is I don't know if you tried it, but it's a Israeli company. Actually, one of the participants in the event told me about it, and that one is accessible and free to use for people. All right. So let's see if we have any questions. It's a little sad that my mic wasn't on for half the interview. We will need to redo it again in 1-2 months, and we'll see how far you came then on the project. While we're waiting and see if we have any questions, do you guys have anything specific like you would like to talk about or mention or so?
Yeah. I would just like to mention one thing, like people who are participating in this hackathon, they can actually go ahead and use the sandbox that we have created. So that will actually reduce your time to bring up the application and deploy the application to showcase it to the wider audience to a greater extent. So you have everything right there in the GitHub repository. Just go ahead, clone it, change the training prompt, and that's all what you need.
Yeah, we added it to the list of tools, and I actually encourage people during our intro to check it out. So I hope you got a couple new stars on GitHub today.
Maybe I want to mention, because we haven't mentioned about like when this book is going to be out, and when can you guys expect it? So basically, right now we are almost ready with the first 2 chapters, and they will be available within a month at O'Reilly platform. We'll probably notify you if you're like subscribed to Next Grid newsletter or Deep Learning Labs newsletter. We will ask Mathias kindly to to share the message, so you can access it there. And yeah, and the full book will be out beginning of next year.
Cool, super exciting. I'm super happy to see this product, and I'm looking forward to see the result. Yeah, some people here are thanking for the sandbox. Thank you, Aerodata Labs, for the good sandbox session in YouTube. Somebody,
Our pleasure.
someone asked what will be the exact title.
Oh, that's a good one.
So, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I think we can already share, because we had a little bit back and forth with a publisher on the title, but I think we arrived at the place where everybody's happy. So basically, the book title will be GPT-3 as a main title, just like that, sweet and simple. And the subtitle will be Building Innovative NLP Products Using Large Language Models. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So thank you both so much for coming here and talking a bit about the book and GPT-3. And I hope to see you at future events. We aim to lift in more stuff than just GPT-3. There's a lot of interesting things happening right now. One thing I've seen that seems pretty interesting is from Facebook, called Pearl AI. Seems quite powerful, a chatbot, but basically it will fetch information on the fly from Wikipedia and whatever source you put, and actually yeah, used as its source. So it seems interesting. So I think next time we do deep learning labs, we'll probably check on this one and try it out. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have an awesome
Thank you.
day.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for
Bye-bye.
having us. Bye.